You are tuned in to On Air with Chris Shanafelt. Welcome back On Air with Chris Shanafelt. And the term sleeper gets thrown out pretty often this time of the year as we lead up to the 2020 NFL Draft. But tonight we have a legit prospect who, as of now, seems to be flying under the radar quite a bit. He's Tomas Wright, the pass rusher out of Bryant University, 2020 NFL Draft prospect. Tomas, can you believe that your time as a college athlete has officially come and gone, and now here you are preparing for a shot at the next level?
I cannot believe it. I remember coming in, as a freshman, and of course, you have those dreams, and you worked hard in high school, but obviously high school isn't the same as college, so you never know what can happen, and I've been blessed to basically achieve everything besides all American, and also too I have been blessed without any injuries, and I think that's one of the most important things. So it's been a wild road. It hasn't been easy, a lot of adversity to climb over, but I'm here and I'm very grateful. So.
You are here. You are here preparing for the 2020 NFL Draft. And, going back to your high school days, Tomas, you come out of an area in Florida where a lot of talent has come out of, including former first-round draft pick Laramie Tunsil, left tackle of the Houston Texans. Now he's in free agency, going to cash out on a big deal in about a month or so. What was the recruiting process like for you coming out of St. Augustine, Florida, Tomas, and how did you land at Bryant University? Why were they the best fit for you?
So basically, coming out of St. Augustine, Florida, like you said, it's very competitive. The football down there it's great. The atmosphere is unreal. Friday Night Lights, it's something you grow up. I remember going to elementary school at Crookshank, and we looked up to those guys as if they were NFL players. To us, they were the NFL players. So it's something you can't really describe, honestly. I'm getting I'm shaking thinking about it. It's one of those things where not too many people can really experience. But after my high school career, I did a postgraduate year at a prep school called Wyoming Seminary, and it was in Kingston, Pennsylvania, and basically there I competed against, some of the top prep schools in the Northeast area, in that New York area. And the reason why I chose Bryant was because Bryant was the best fit academically and athletically. It gave me basically a good mix of both because it prepares you for life after football. Because you got to understand, football, you can't play football forever. And I don't even, less than 1% can make it to the NFL. Less than 1% can make it to, play college football. So, when I went on my visit there, one of the guys who recruited me was Michael Engel. He was the wide receivers coach there. And we basically, he talked to me while I was at high school, while I was at St. Augustine, and through prep school, and we really had a genuine relationship, and I would probably say that was one of the biggest reasons why I chose Brian as well. I had a real genuine relationship with him, and I'm a big loyalty guy, and it just, like I said, it seemed like the best fit. It had the best of both worlds, and it ended up being true, because I had an internship last May at a company called PTC. It's a global tech company located in downtown Seaport area. And, Bryant also, too, always has career fairs. You get to meet businesses, and it's been great. I work with the people in the career fair, Pat Manecki. She always helps me. I'm applying to jobs constantly, even through this process, because you have to be prepared for both sides, And it's just been great being able to see that aspect of life as well, because some people, they only think football, and it's like, no, there's more than football. You got to think about other options as well. So
That was beautifully said, my friend. You guys are more than just athletes. You guys are more than just football players. And I think a lot of people see you guys, college athletes, professional athletes, and they think that you're just, that thing. You're just a football player. You're just an athlete. But there's obviously more to that, and you explained that, it wasn't only a football decision to attend Bryant University, but it was an academic decision as well. And Tomas, you're the first Bryant Bulldog to record 150 tackles, 40 tackles for loss, and 30 sacks. Most of that production was in the past 2 years when you were the full-time starter on the defensive line. You had 10 forced fumbles as well over the past 4 years. What's your secret to creating pressure in the backfield? What's your pass rush repertoire consist of? What are a couple of your favorite moves that you'd like to use on opposing offensive linemen to get to the quarterback?
Well, fortunately for me, I've always played D-line, even when, I wasn't this size. Like, I don't know how it ended up that way, but I remember, Pop Warner, I was a D tackle, like all throughout Pop Warner D tackle. Then I got to high school, and I was too small to play D tackle, so I played D end because I was still athletic. And it's always been in my blood. And basically it was just years of learning and training, and someone who basically installed a lot in me. A great foundation was my high school coach, Coach Stewart, at St. Augustine High. He was tough. I could still hear him yelling at me right now, honestly, and it makes me jump a little bit. But yeah, like goodness, like in terms of like feet work, taking that 6-inch step, staying low, making sure you use your hands violently, all that good stuff. He installed that in me when I was a freshman or sophomore, and most people, they don't learn technique until they get to college. So I was learning technique while playing against some of the best competition in the country. And it was, like I said, I've been kind of fortunate, because not too many people get that. A lot of people, they learn technique when they get into college. So I was learning all that through high school and, over time, just perfecting that craft. And I've always, since I was young, man, like I remember in a Pop Warner game, I had like 3 sacks in like the first half, So I've always loved, getting after the quarterback, and it's just something I just love it, hitting the quarterback, and basically on 3rd and long, they have to give you back the ball. That's a great feeling. So,
you talk about that experience that you had back in high school, learning the technique of the defensive line, and you were able to see that right away your freshman year, 6.5 sacks as a freshman in 2016, 2017. So I mentioned it as well, 10 career forced fumbles, 5 alone were from this past season as a senior. What were you seeing differently this season that allowed you to create those opportunities to get your offense back onto the field?
To be truthful, I played more. My previous years, I rotated with other guys. So that's the reason why my production wasn't really high. I was always being rotated. And this year, I finally got the opportunity I was on the field like 80 to 90% of the time, which I wanted to do because I wanted to help my team win. I wanted to help the defense. I always want to be on the field. So that's really the reason why, my numbers increased, was because I was actually being played for a majority of the game. Years past, I only played probably like, to be honest with you, like 5 to 7 to 8 series a game. And that is probably what I'd say was the biggest difference. The new coach, Marquise Watson, he came in, and I played with him my freshman year. He was one of the captains, and he went off and basically, he was coaching at other schools, and then he got a great opportunity to come back and coach the D-line, which was wonderful, and we had a great chemistry, and he just taught me so much. He went off into the world, and he learned a lot of D-line techniques that he brought back and implemented into me, and that basically, revamped my game. That taught me more things, and it also too, it just made me more hungry, and it made me just, I don't know how to put it. Like his knowledge, basically, he instilled it into me, and I was just ready. I was ready for more knowledge. I was ready for more things to learn, and it was just a perfect. Like I said, I've been blessed with opportunities, and that was one of the best things that could have happened for me my senior season was for Coach Watson to come back.
Again, we're chatting with 2020 NFL draft prospect, defensive end out of Bryant University. He's 6'2", 240-pound pass rush extraordinaire, Tomas Wright. And Tomas, the Bryant Bulldogs play in a competitive Northeast Conference that seems to only get better and better year after year. Who would you say is the best player you've lined up against over the years? It could be an offensive lineman, it could be a quarterback, running back, you name it. Is there somebody specific that stands out?
Ooh, that is... Oh yeah. Actually, I got one. Aaron Winchester from Central Connecticut State this year. I believe that's his correct name. Number one, he transferred in from, I want to say Georgia State. And, man, he was fast. I couldn't believe it. I mean, we watched film and we knew, how good he was. But he was just one of those players where you couldn't prepare for him. Like, you couldn't really prepare for that in practice. We didn't really have a player who could, basically give a great representation of that speed for us. So, we practiced. Yeah, the coaches emphasized, he's fast. You better run. And it didn't help because he was just running all over the place. And I wouldn't say he was unstoppable, but we could not stop him that game. And I got to give props to him. He was one of the best players I played against in college. And, I think he was the offensive player of the year, I believe, in the conference. And every week, I think he was like damn near player of the week. He was always on that list. So big props to him. He was fast, man. He's fast, and he had a good arm as well. So.
All right, there you go, Central Connecticut State University. Tomas, you're a two-time first-team all-conference player. You were named Bryant University's Defensive Lineman of the Year in 2019 after you capped off your senior season with a career-high 71 tackles to go with 16.5 tackles for loss, 9 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, and 2 blocked kicks. As you mentioned, it was the season in which you played the most snaps throughout your career. A lot of plays have been made over the years. You're second all-time in the NEC for career sacks. Looking back 5, 10, 15 years down the road, which play over the year will come to your mind first? What would you say is the most memorable play that you've been a part of?
Oh, man, I know this one instantly. I smiled when he asked that question. It was last year against Robert Morris at home. I don't remember the score, but I know we scored, and they had possession, and they basically, they could have drove it down. If they scored, they won. And, we were playing hard on defense. The crowd was going wild. We had a great crowd, and it was the fourth quarter, like I said, and it got the, I want to say, fourth down or third down, third and long, one of those distances. And it was that moment, where someone had to make a play or we were going to lose. And it was, I want to say it was either the first or second, I think it was the second conference game. I think we beat Duquesne at home the game before that. So, going into conference 2-0, that's a great start to the season. So, like I said, it's either third and long or fourth and long, and passing situation. And basically, before the snap, I'm telling myself, I want to end this game. I want to be the one to end this game. I want to get the sack. And I get down, and everything in my mind goes blank. I'm focused. All I can think is I'm looking at the ball, like trying to, jump the count snap, jump the ball, and I go as soon as the ball snaps. I sack the quarterback. He fumbles, and we win the game. And it was just, seeing the teammates on the sideline go crazy. We were just celebrating. It was that was one of the best moments for me. That was, one of my best moments at Bryant, basically ending that game and just seeing how happy the teammates were. And like I said, we were 2-0 in conference. It was a great day in Smithfield, Rhode Island.
Absolutely, and as a defensive end, I'm not surprised to hear it's a quarterback sack, along with a forced fumble, knowing your track record over the past 4 years. Not surprised at all. Tomas, for those not familiar with your game, how would you describe it? What would you say is your biggest strength as a pass rusher?
I would say my biggest strength is basically utilizing my hands. I don't like to waste time, so me using, my hands and my arm lift to basically create separation, get off quickly, and that way I don't waste time getting to the quarterback. I'm a speed rush type of player. I like to utilize different hand moves. I like to create confusion towards the offensive linemen because, if they start kicking back, they think I'm going to use speed. Then I have the strength to, boom, put that foot in and bull rush and basically control them. And, also, too, I could counter, do a spin move, fake spin move. So it's a lot. I like to have a little mental – I like to play with offensive linemen's heads sometimes, at least in the NEC. That aspect is really fun because – you could tell when an offensive lineman doesn't know what to do. And that's probably one of the greatest feelings, when you can't be stopped no matter what they try to do. So,
is there a current or former professional pass rusher that you like to model your game after? Is there any guys that you like to take bits and pieces of their game and add it onto your own?
Yeah, I like watching Yannick Ngakwe. Is that how you pronounce his name right?
Absolutely, yeah. Pass rusher from Jacksonville, one of the most underrated pass rushers in the NFL, and he actually was in the news today as the Jaguars placed the franchise tag on him, so we'll see what his status is. But, yeah, go on. I mean, he's a fascinating pass rusher and a true technician as a defensive end.
Exactly. I mean, just what you said, he's relatable. I don't like to basically compare myself to guys who, are bigger or they have different, strengths. And I think I find myself very comparable to him. I mean, mind you, I know he went to a bigger school and he had really, freakish combine numbers, but, his style of play, I feel like is, comparable to mine and his body type too. I mean, I think he weighs more. He definitely weighs more than me, but, I love his tenacity, and you could tell by his, his play, he has a lot of love for the game. He has a lot of love for getting sacks, and he's going to get the money he deserves. He's a great player. So
he certainly is one of the top pass rushers in the league, one of the most underrated pass rushers in the league as well, Yannick Ngakwe. And Tomas, you're not the only pass rusher coming out of the NEC. Wagner's Cam Gill has been getting some buzz for a while. What are your thoughts on his game as a fellow defensive end? Have you been able to watch it closely at all? Why do you think, speaking of an underrated talent, why do you think you aren't getting the same attention that he is up to this point? I know it's out of your control, but does that bother you at all, seeing that you guys come from the same conference and, you've been right there with them in terms of, getting to the quarterback, making noise in the backfield, in limited snaps?
No, it's funny you say that. I actually, I was talking to him a few days ago on Instagram. He's a great guy, and he's a freak. Everything he's getting, he's been like, he deserves everything. I'm a fan of his game. I used to love watching, with my D-line coach, film with him and how he turns the corner. It's kind of unreal. And, he's a freak, man. Like, he's fast. He has strength. Honestly, I love the fact that he's in the conference because, watching him and seeing what he does, it made me a better player. It made me more competitive because there's a time where, like, every year. So, like, my junior year, I had 12.5 sacks, and he had 13.5 sacks. My senior year, he had 9.5 sacks. I had 9 sacks. And it'd be funny because I would be leading, like most of the season, like in the beginning towards the middle, I would be leading, and then he would just explode. Like, it was kind of like we were competing with each other, you know? And, like, I would always, like, you know, kind of look to see what he had, because then in my mind before the game, I'd be like, yeah, you know, Cam Gill has this, or, like, I got to get my sacks up. And it'd be funny because my teammates would mess with me and be like, yo, Cam Gill, you know, he just had, like, this many sacks. And it pissed me off because it's just like, well, damn, now I got to go get 3 sacks. So, I love the fact that he was in the league. He finished, you know, he was the number 1 in conference history in sacks. He had 34. I had 30.5. And it's one of those things, too, where, like, I kind of understand, like, you know, he's been, like, starting, like, since he was a sophomore, like, all 3 years. And I had to sit behind and wait for my turn, kind of, even though I led the team in sacks as a freshman. I've had 3 head coaches in 4 years, so I had to learn 3 different defenses. I had 3 different D-line coaches, you know, so it's been a lot of, you know, turnover and adversity that I had to overcome. But as you can see, you know, I could produce numbers no matter who's coaching, no matter what defense it is, you know. So that's you know, all I had to say on that. And, you know, he's a great player. His combine, he killed it. He had like 21 bench reps. I think he hit like a 4.6, you know, jumped like a 34. So, and that also motivates me, you know, for my pro day, because I want to clearly, you know, compete with him and get numbers like that. That's great stuff. But yeah, like I said, you know, he's fun to watch, and he deserves everything he's gotten.
A few more questions for Tomas Wright, the 2020 NFL Draft prospect, defensive end, pass rush extraordinaire out of Bryant University of the Northeast Football Conference. And Tomas, you had an opportunity back in January to participate in the College Gridiron Showcase down in Fort Worth, Texas, a college football all-star game with some of the best talent in the country. You were actually invited to the small school showcase, and then after you proved yourself there, you were upgraded to the actual College Gridiron Showcase with, you know, D1 talent from FBS conferences. What was that entire experience like to show teams, to show scouts? I believe all 32 NFL teams were represented there, CFL, XFL as well. What was that opportunity like to show those professional teams that you had what it takes to compete with the best of the best?
Yeah, it was, you know, that was my main goal, was just to showcase, you know, to myself and to teams that, you know, I could play with the top dogs, the big dogs in the country. And it was fun, you know. I think that was the most important thing. I love playing a game, and when it's fun to play, it's very enjoyable, and that experience is very enjoyable because the people there were good people. And they made it worthwhile. I met a lot of friends there who, you know, I connected with afterwards through social media, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot at that experience. I think one of the things too, it just made me believe in you know, my skill set and what I have to offer, because, you know, when I moved up, I was one of the 10 players selected out of like the 110 small school guys that were there, and that was kind of like a really cool moment, because it was selected by the NFL scouts and by the coaches there. So it like let me know that, like, you know, I have the talent to play in NFL. Like, these guys saw something in me to move me up. And, you know, it's unreal. When I was there, the first play on inside run, the tackle, I vividly remember this, it's unreal. The tackle went down, and it was a zone away. The quarterback gave the back the ball. I went, squeezed down tight, tackled the running back, and I got up, and I was just like, my hand, like it was hurting. And I looked, and my glove, my finger was dislocated. And I was just like, I thought it was broken because I'd never dislocated a finger before. And I'm just like, it was one of those moments where, like, it really could have determined, like, everything. So, like, it was like either I put it back in place or I just go to the trainers. But if I was to go to the trainers, I miss those reps. And at an All-Star game, they're fighting for reps. It's not like practice where, you just had those reps. So I just put it back in place, and I just got to work. So I played with a dislocated finger that whole time, and it sucked because there were some pass rush moves I could not do because I couldn't grab, but I had no choice but to suck it up. And my finger looks like, I don't even know what it looks like now. It's crazy. It's so fat because I didn't let it, once you dislocate a finger and put it back, you're supposed to ice it and let it rest. So it's just like a bunch of, I think, like bone calcium that has, formed together. It's an ugly little thing, but yeah, that was kind of crazy. I didn't expect to do that, but that just kind of shows you how physical it was, because that's never happened to me in a football game before. So it was really physical. But moving up to the FBS guys, it was so cool because they taught me a lot. It was funny because I thought they were going to be mean. I didn't really have I didn't know what to think. I thought they were going to be yeah, you're not getting reps or something, but they were mad. They were mad, good people, and they wanted the same thing. We all wanted the same thing. We all wanted the same goals, and we were just all trying to help each other. So that was a really cool thing to see because in this sport it's very competitive, and not everyone wants to see their rivals succeed. But we were celebrating when someone got a sack or when someone made a big play, and that's fun. I don't want to play with guys who are, they just don't want to see success out of other players. And it just made the time there more worthwhile, seeing that.
Absolutely. Sounds like a great experience, minus the whole dislocated finger thing, but that says a lot about you, a lot about, you were very grateful for the opportunity, and you weren't going to let a dislocated finger stop you from keep on going on in that all-star game. So that really speaks volumes to the player that you are, and just how big this opportunity was for you. Were you able to talk with any teams out there at the CGS, Tomas? I mean, what's the feedback been like from scouts? How do you think they view you as a prospect?
I know the Cowboys, they basically sent me a text, and they had me do one of those computer tests. I forgot what it was called. The test my reaction time and things like that. That was really cool because I went in there, and it's they're explaining to you everything, and I look to the right of me and I see DeAndre Francois, the ex-Florida State quarterback. And I'm just I'm from Bryant. What am I doing here with DeAndre Francois? But that was a really cool experience. But I mean, I was on the computer for an hour, doing those testings. So that it was exhausting mentally. But I've never done anything like that. So that was really, really cool. I remembered it was one of the tests was they had a circle. One was blue, one was red, and if the red went to the left, you had to click the right clicker. If the blue went to the right, you had to click the left clicker. It was things like that. So I really found that interesting. I don't know what my results were, but I mean it was cool seeing that text because I got out the shower and I looked at my phone and it's yo, this is so and so from the Dallas Cowboys. Can you come meet now? I was just dang, that was pretty surreal. So
get out the shower hoping it didn't take you too long to reply.
Yeah, no, I was yeah, I'm coming right now with my towel on.
That's hilarious. A couple more questions for you, Tomas, then we'll let you go. The coronavirus obviously has everything at a standstill. There was going to be a pro day at Bryant University. It was going to be a huge opportunity for you, obviously, to show teams the type of athlete you are. And there is going to be teams in attendance, not only to check you out, but you guys were also going to have the University of Rhode Island guys there as well. They had 3 guys invited to the NFL Combine, an offensive lineman and 2 wide receivers. So there's certainly going to be a contingency there at Bryant University. Unfortunately, that has been called off, as it seems like just about every other pro day has also been called off, as the NFL is telling teams not to travel and not to hold official visits either at their own facilities. What have the past couple of months been like for you preparing for your pro day? Where have you been preparing at? And just how crushing is that news, and what exactly is next for you? What's your next step?
Yeah, man. So I was working with my strength coach at school. He basically, been preparing me. He prepared Tom Kennedy last year, who signed with the Lions, and it was going great. Waking up early, waking up at like 5 in the morning, and getting it done early. And this obviously it put a stop to that. And the past few weeks, because they closed down all facilities on campus, like everything. So I've been traveling to Boston to train with Mike Boyle and with some Brown football players, one of Richard Ukulele, linebacker from Bryant, and some other players. And it's been a great experience working with those guys these past few weeks. It's been great. So, I mean, all I could do is continue to work. It's a lot of confusion, though. You don't really know what's going to happen. And, obviously for, FCS players, the pro day is basically our time to shine. And, I was hoping, I was looking at some of the numbers, of the NFL Combine, and some of my stuff was up there at the top with, these guys that go to, Penn State, Bama, and all these places. So I was excited, but everything happens for a reason. All I can do is just continue to work and just see what happens. But I was really excited. I'm a big weight room guy. That's another thing that has helped me be so successful, because in high school, our coach, his whole philosophy was built around weight room. So I love the weight room. That's me. That's how I feel personally. That's one of the best ways to develop as a player on the field. And it is what it is. So, like I said, just another form of adversity. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully something gets figured out. Hopefully you're able to, show teams, your preparation and what you've been preparing for the past few months. So we'll wait and see on what comes up from that. Final question before I let you go. Really appreciate your time, Tomas. This has been a fantastic conversation. This is the question I end all of my prospect interviews with, and that is, let's say we have all 32 NFL general managers. They're tuned into this very interview. Why should they want the pass rusher out of Bryant University, Tomas Wright, a part of their team?
I would say, basically, I'm a hard worker. I can adapt to any environment, any situation. Like I said, I've had 3 head coaches in the past 4 years, 3 different D-line coaches, 3 different defenses I've had to learn, and I've been successful with every coach, with every defense. So that, that's just showing you that I could fight through adversity. I could have easily transferred. I could have easily left, but I stayed and stuck through it. So you're going to get a player who's loyal. You're going to get a player who's going to perform under adversity. Another thing, too, is, I have, I showcase that I'm more than an athlete. I've done an internship. I want to do things to basically help my community. I want to do things to show people that, we're not just, we don't just care about football. Like, I have bigger plans in terms of, like I said, helping the community, and also, too, the school system is something that I've been really interested in. I want to go back home and basically, my community, West Augustine, I want to be a part of that and help, showcase to those kids that, you don't have to basically play sports to go to college. You can also, you could do well in school as well, So I don't want people to think that, I think a lot of people believe, sometimes the only way to get to school, because college is expensive, you know what I mean? The college is like, Bryant costs like $62,000 a year. Fortunately, football has helped, with that. But like you can, if you, I wish, when I went to school that I had higher grades. Like I had like a 3.0 I finished with in high school, but I wish, I basically applied myself more to school because, I wish I was at like an Ivy League or something, you know what I mean, in terms of that. But also, too, like I'm a dual sport athlete. I played lacrosse. I've done track. I've done, like, obviously football. And like I said, I want to get to the quarterback. I am a person where I want to end the game. I want to be the guy in the fourth quarter that gets the sack that ends it right there. I would say the return on investment would be great if a team was to draft me. And like I said, I'm a loyal guy. I know what I could do. My resume speaks for itself. I let my actions speak for my actions always speak louder than words, and that's what I plan to continue to do. And I've fought through adversity my whole career, and I'm ready to fight through adversity now. So.
Well said. Well said. I mean, your teams out there, if they're listening, getting a hell of a player, a hell of a pass rusher, and a hell of a person off the field. I can tell you that right now. Tomas, really appreciate your time. This has been one of the more enjoyable interviews that I've been able to record. I mean, it's been a lot of fun chatting with you. Certainly wishing you all the best. Hopefully something comes up with some type of a pro day workout for you. But, if not, I know things will work out at the end of the day. Congratulations on all of the success up to this point, and really wishing you all the best, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you for having me. It was great.